Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Liat wants workers to take a bigger salary cut. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, April 12th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Regional airline Liat says the 6% pay cut agreed to by its workers to help reduce the carrier's financial burden is not enough, and it may need the employees to give up even more of their salaries. According to an internal document seen by CMC, Liat said after a shareholders meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines last Friday that the 6% cut would not meet the company's immediate cost reduction objectives. The document stated that the shareholders were considering additional measures to address the airline's financial challenges, and it would continue to update staff on discussions and the proposed measures to be agreed upon. Efforts to get an official comment from the airline have so far proven futile. During a meeting in Barbados with Prime Minister Mia Mottley and her Vincentian counterpart, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, trade unions representing the airline's workers agreed in principle to a 6% salary cut, pending further discussions with members. The pilots subsequently agreed to a pay reduction as well, but they did not say exactly how much, only that it was less than 10%. The Antigua-based Observer Radio reported Friday that there seemed to have been a misunderstanding between the workers and Liat's management. It said the workers were under the impression the salary cuts would come from their basic salaries, while Liat thought the 6% cut would be made from their entire earnings. Trinidad and Tobago's Police Commissioner Gary Griffith is sounding a caution about the registration process that the Twin Island Republic is opening up to Venezuelan immigrants. National Security Minister Stuart Young on Thursday announced the initiative under which Venezuelans in the country, whether legally or illegally, will be able to register from May 31st to June 14th and be able to live, work and access health care for up to a year. But Griffith told a news conference that the government should tread carefully as criminals have been found to be among those entering the country.
If based on law enforcement intelligence, any individual who is here as an illegal immigrant and has been given an amnesty, based on suspicion, based on intelligence of that individual being involved in any questionable activity and that individual is red flagged, that they be immediately deported. The reason I'm saying this is as much as they will have all of the persons who would love to state that Jesus was a refugee and that we need to embrace everyone, the fact is I need to look after the well-being and interests of the Trinidad and Tobago citizens.
Guyana's opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo is condemning CARICOM's position on non-intervention in Venezuela. The regional grouping continues to be divided on issues pertaining to the crisis in the Spanish-speaking Caribbean nation, where opposition leader Juan Guaido has declared himself interim president and is getting some international support to remove President Nicolas Maduro. Jagdeo voiced his concern about CARICOM's position on CNC3's Morning Brew program.
Chinese president believes CARICOM could have adopted a position similar to that of the African Union, namely that neighboring countries cannot be indifferent in the wake of the collapse of democracy in any given state. According to Mr. Jagdeo, the democratic order and constitutional institutions in Venezuela have been ruptured and are under serious threat, a reality that cannot be ignored, and a position of non-interference is untenable.
Issues of freedom, democracy, human rights are universal principles that we have to all defend. And whenever they are violated in any country, no government or any other force that violates these sacred principles should use non-interference as an excuse to continue harming people's interests.
The St. Lucia government on Friday defended its decision to vote in favor of a candidate supported by the Venezuelan opposition leader as the Spanish-speaking nation's special representative at the Organization of American States. A statement from Foreign Minister Sarah Flood-Bobron acknowledged that St. Lucia had joined with Haiti, Jamaica, and the Bahamas in accepting the appointment of Gustavo Tarre, pending fresh elections and the appointment of a democratically elected government. Flood-Bobron said St. Lucia continued to advocate for a peaceful, democratic, and Venezuelan-owned solution to the ongoing crisis, but it is concerned that the regime in Caracas continues to stifle democracy. Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname joined Venezuela in voting against the measure, while Barbados, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Trinidad and Tobago abstained. Belize was the only CARICOM country absent when the vote was taken. Staying in St. Lucia, Public Service Minister Ubaldus Raymond has been sent on leave while government investigates information about him circulating in the public domain. A statement from the Office of the Attorney General said the outcome of the probe will be presented to the public. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Alan Chastanet denied that Raymond had resigned. It had been reported that he had tendered his resignation following the release of a telephone recording of a salacious conversation between a man believed to be the minister and a woman with a foreign accent. The Office of the Attorney General said there was an initial probe into the matter and more information had come to light, which warrants further investigations by the relevant authorities. Prime Minister Chastanet says his government is awaiting the results.
At the end of the day, am I allowed to use evidence that was not even admissible into courts as a precursor? At the end of the day, the minister embarrassed himself and he embarrassed his family. I have to... The government to some extent. But at the end of the day, he is without sin. Let him cast the first stone. Right now, you're talking about a second incident of which I don't know what all the facts are. And this is why I have said that I have remained hush and I will remain hush until we're able to determine all of the facts. But I can say to you that we're very close to getting information, and I'm hoping very soon that we'll be able to make a revelation and then a way forward on this issue.
There will soon be a legal framework in the Cayman Islands for people living with debilitating diseases to make end-of-life decisions. Lawmakers have passed the Healthcare Decisions Bill 2019, paving the way for the framework to be established, but it expressly outlaws euthanasia and assisted suicide. What it does provide for is an advance directive that covers such things as an order not to put a person on long-term life support or not to resuscitate them in specific situations. When he introduced the bill to the Legislative Assembly, Health Minister Dwayne Seymour said the bill would give families and friends making difficult decisions for their ill loved ones a measure of comfort.
Creating the opportunity for those who wish to do so, have an advance directive in place that clearly outlines the wishes for their health care, and it will create the legal framework to allow these wishes to be recognized and upheld. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that it will create an opportunity to ease the emotional burdens on family and friends when a loved one falls seriously ill.
Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, teachers across the Caribbean demand payment for marking CXC SBAs. Stay with us.
time to waste, boy. A better tomorrow. A better tomorrow. A better tomorrow. Better tomorrow.
So I just took the meatballs out of the oven.
Welcome back. Teachers' unions from across the Caribbean are demanding that their members be paid to mark CXC school-based assessments, SBAs. The unions have taken issue with the fact that teachers are paid to mark CSEC and CAPE exams, but not SBAs. We get more in this Choice News report.
Recently, teachers have been threatening to refrain from marking the assessments, which play a critical role in the final CSEC grades of Form 5 students. The issue has gained steam across the islands, with teachers from Barbados, Jamaica, Grenada, and Trinidad and Tobago demanding payments from the Caribbean Examinations Council for the marking of SBAs. The Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association has gone as far as taking this matter to the High Court. According to a Jamaican Gleaner article, quote, the union is also arguing that its members are forced to complete marking outside of working hours as they do not have sufficient non-contact time, end quote. The St. Lucia's Teachers Union has also made mention of the desire to be compensated. On Tuesday, the former registrar of the Caribbean Examinations Council, Dr. Didicus Jules, was asked for his take on the issue.
Essentially, the SBAs are meant to be the application of knowledge in whatever subject you're studying. So if you're doing, say, English, for example, you know one of the problems employers say is that there's insufficient mastery of the English language to write business letters and do stuff like that. So the thinking there is the SBA is an opportunity for the class teacher to have an input into the final grade of the students. It's a project. Most developed countries now are moving to project-based work in education.
However, regional teachers do not feel the same. In 2015, the president of the Caribbean Union of Teachers stated that, quote, no external agency like CXC should determine the functions of a teacher, end quote. Jules disagrees.
So you really cannot talk about paying teachers for marking SBAs because SBAs are supposed to be part of their classroom pedagogy. That's the essence of the problem. And there are a lot of complications as to how you're going to, if you were to even consider paying, how do you effect that? Because throughout the year, if I'm working on an SBA in, say, science, maybe at least once a month, my teacher should be checking my progress, giving feedback, and so on. So do you pay a fixed fee, or do you pay at every iteration? How is that to be managed?
Neighboring teachers' unions, like that in Grenada, have appealed to their members to send SBAs to the Ministry of Education without being marked. However, reports indicate that most teachers have not complied.
Up next in Newsline Entertainment, Buju Banton to get permission to perform in Port of Spain this weekend, and Jamaica's Pulse brand taps into the African market.
Buju Banton's next stop on his Long Walk to Freedom tour is scheduled for Trinidad this weekend, but he first needs to get permission to enter the island because of his criminal record. Buju was jailed for 7 years in the U.S. after being convicted on drug charges. The National Security Minister, Stuart Young, says he is prepared to grant an exemption for the I Am Legend concert to be held on Sunday.
Buju Banton falls foul of our immigration laws in Trinidad and Tobago. I have asked that it be conveyed to the organizers of the concert that they need to make an application to the Minister of National Security for an exemption. I can say at this stage I am prepared to give the exemption for the concert to go on.
40 years after its inception, Jamaica's Pulse brand is expanding to the international market. Pulse has launched the international careers of several Jamaican models, and it is looking to do the same in Africa, starting with the Africa Model Search in Nigeria in July. Pulse Global was launched this week in Kingston. Initiatives include a reality TV series, African Model Search, and Schools Model Search. Pulse chairman Kingsley Cooper says the venture is in partnership with the Fashion One of Nigeria.
It allows you, for example, Fashion One in Lagos. They go across the entire African continent. So imagine being able to reach all of Africa at once, you know, without a long period of building, as we have had to do in the Caribbean, for example.
Easter season is kite flying season, and children across the Caribbean look forward to the occasion every year. One school in Grenada held its annual kite flying competition this week, and some of the students were proud to show off their kite flying skills.
First you have to cut out a shape about, like you could use a paper, plastic, cardboard, and then you just cut out a shape, and then you have to get a lot of sticks. You could use 2 sticks if you make a diamond. Then you have to tape it, tape the sticks to the plastic, and then you could put a tail. They put a tail right on this thread where you have to put a tail.
Kiting is thing, you fly high and thing. The singing hard, you go like a big truck. Kite is my thing.
Marie-Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, Cricket West Indies facing legal action following the sacking of one of its coaches. The details after the break.
Well, that's why I'm here, to add to the soul, because this is one Caribbean, you know, Caribbean unity musically. And as much as I've been doing music for a lot of years, you know, I mean, real years, I don't even want to talk about years.
I was about to say, how long have you been in the business?
Yeah, this year make 31 years. I started very young.
I'm down here filming with Johnny Damon, I get it, but I'm in Florida. I can kill some time by going and just small pond hopping. Now, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here, so make sure you get permission. I'm from Boston, I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I mean, I don't know how long it'll be before I get thrown out of here, so I want to try to get a couple before I get bound.
Anywhere I see water, I always wonder, are there bass in there? So to me, making a few casts to put my curiosity at rest is a good thing. Otherwise, I may just go crazy.
Little guy. All right, little guy on Frankie. Yeah, that's small pond fishing, baby.
The shake-up at Cricket West Indies, CWI, has landed the new administration in its first legal battle. Sacked men's team bowling coach Vaspert Drakes is suing the region's cricket governing body for unlawful termination. Drake's lawyer, Queen's Counsel Ralph Thorne, said his client was informed by telephone on Wednesday that his services were no longer required. He told CBC Sport that he would be seeking legal redress for the former West Indies all-rounder.
Yesterday, the board did things to indicate to him that the engagement between he and Cricket West Indies was at an end. And we are claiming that that action is unlawful. And therefore, we are pursuing the Cricket West Indies to consider two things, either reinstatement or compensation. But in any event, we're going to pursue them for compensation. There's a proper way to do things, and the way in which Mr. Drake's engagement has been handled is morally and legally wrong. Of course, my main concern is the legal infraction. But of course, you know, the law often embraces good morals.
Drake has been replaced by fellow Barbadian Corey Collymore, and that development coincided with changes announced on Thursday by the newly appointed CWI president, which include the sacking of head coach Richard Pybus, who has been replaced by former Barbados and West Indies captain Floyd Reefer. And Thorne expressed concern about the timing of the changes. He said that Drake's, like Pybus, was actively preparing for the upcoming tour of Ireland, the ICC World Cup in England, and a tour of India, which immediately follows the World Cup.
I'm deeply concerned not only about the state of West Indies cricket, just as we are on the cusp of greater success. This happens. I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned about the relationship between Mr. Drake's and the persons who are intended to replace him. I mean, these are people who play cricket together. They live in a small Caribbean area together. I suspect that they have had good relationships, and this action could possibly injure those relationships. I hope the action does not, but I am concerned that something done by the board is capable of injuring previously good relationships.
West Indies selectors on Friday named a 14-man squad for the one-day international Tri-Nation series involving Ireland and Bangladesh, and left-hander Jonathan Carter and speedster Shannon Gabriel are back in the regional side. But the squad, which will be led by regular captain Jason Holder, is without key players who are currently involved in the ongoing Indian Premier League. Carter has been recalled following a 2-year absence, while Gabriel is back after a 16-month break. And West Indies Test wicketkeeper Shane Dowrich makes his ODI debut for the Tri-Series, which takes place in Ireland from May 5th to 17th. Interim chairman of selectors Robert Haynes, whose appointment was announced on Thursday, said CWI had immediately implemented the new policy of having the best West Indies team selected based on availability, form and fitness. He said the pace attack of Gabriel, Holder and Kemar Roach will enhance the team's performance. The full West Indies Tri-Series squad is Jason Holder, captain, John Campbell, Darren Bravo, Shea Hope, Sheldon Cottrell, Shannon Gabriel, Kemar Roach, Sunil Ambrose, Raymond Reefer, Fabian Allen, Ashley Nurse, Roston Chase, Shane Dowrich and Jonathan Carter. Meanwhile, the new CWI boss says a task force is to be set up to conduct a comprehensive review of the system of player selection in West Indies cricket. Ricky Scarrett said the review is aimed at identifying the best possible practices for choosing players.
There's a task force being put in place under the chairmanship of the Vice President to, within 3 months, make recommendations for a new system going forward, taking the best of what was there and adding to it the best of what is required for the future.
Scarrett also sought to dispel what he said was a myth that the West Indies elite cricketers have no interest in playing for the regional side.
Over the last couple of weeks, we've engaged several of them, and prior to the election, I personally engaged several of them, and the desire to play and the hunger to play for their West Indian colors is as strong as ever. What we have to do is to make sure that we put systems in place that respect the players and that can help the players to respect their responsibility when they are actually involved in West Indies cricket, and do it in a way that is clearly communicated and that there's mutual respect and understanding. I have no doubt that in the hearts and in the minds of all of these players, the performance of the West Indies team and being involved in a successful West Indies team setup is important to them.
Well, one of the players who's not been chosen for a while is hoping to make the World Cup squad. All-rounder Kieron Pollard, who last played an ODI for the West Indies in 2016, says he'd like to wear the maroon when the much-anticipated tournament bowls off next month.
There have been a lot of turmoil in West Indies cricket over the last couple of years, but what we have seen in the last couple of weeks, there's a change. Pollard was one of the guys blacklisted. The most I can do every time I step on the cricket field is try to put runs on the board. There's people there who have the jobs to select and whatever, and we see how that goes. As I said, I'm 31 years, you know, Chris Gill is still playing and he's 39 and he's still whacking it out of the ground.
On Thursday, Director of Cricket Jimmy Adams confirmed that Pollard was among players who'd been contacted about availability for West Indies duty. Switching sports now, Guyanese boxer Kevin Alicock will represent his country at the 2019 PanAm Games after all. This after a successful fight against his loss to a Dominican Republic opponent over the color of his boxing gear. We get the details in this HGP Sport report.
Head of Guyana's Boxing Association, Steve Ninval, confirmed that Alicock has qualified for the Games despite controversially losing by a walkover in a quarter-final match of the PanAm qualifiers. Controversy ensued when Alicock was set to fight Alex de Cruz of the Dominican Republic on Monday, but was prevented by the technical delegate Raphael, claiming that the Guyanese was wearing an inappropriate colored vest, even though the International Technical Office and referee found nothing wrong with the garment. After much talks, letter writing, and administrative protests, Alicock is now given the green light verbally. Steve Ninval said, "We are happy that one of our boxers has made it to the Games, but it does not stop there. There is a need to know what decision has been taken on the outcome of the fight and what sanctions will be handed to the defaulting technical delegate. Hence, we will await official word from both International Boxing Association and American Boxing Confederation."
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Is there anything that you would like to see going forward, Dr. Laws?
Yes, I would love for us at the Ministry of Health and in terms of our national health system to sustain our response and maintain our elimination status.
Not get caught up in the euphoria and forget about.
No, I think this
is
is very important for us.
American rapper Lil Kim will drop a new album on May 17th. The rapper announced via social media that her latest full-length, which will be her 5th LP and first album in 14 years, is titled The Nine. The music video for the album's first single, Go Off, is expected to be released on March 29th. There is no news on the album's track list or potential collaborations yet. However, here is Go Off, live.
I was good sometimes. I had my days. I like to party and I did like school. I got sidetracked once I got in high school.
I had spoke with the girls a few months ago about domestic violence, and I really didn't know at that time that many of them in that room were being abused.
Again, the major developments of this day. Regional airline Liat says the 6% pay cut agreed to by workers to help reduce its financial burden is not enough and they may be asked to take a bigger cut. And in sport, sacked bowling coach Vaspert Drake taking action against Cricket West Indies for unlawful termination. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport round the clock, subscribe to CanadaNews.com. For more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again next Monday. Where from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.